Okay. Good morning. Thank you for attending. My name is Steffi Rawlings. I am the Center Director of the SBDC TCA at New Mexico Tech, where we specialize in intellectual property consulting, helping innovators and businesses protect their ideas through patents, trademarks, and copyrights. Our goal is to empower creators by providing the tools and resources they need to navigate the complexities of intellectual property law, safeguard their intellectual assets, and thrive in a competitive market. Thank you all for joining us today as we continue our cybersecurity awareness webinars to raise awareness about the importance of cybersecurity during the month of October. It's more important than ever to stay vigilant and informed about the evolving threats in today's digital world, both for individuals and small businesses. I am honored to introduce our special guest from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. As many of you know, CISA plays a role in safeguarding our nation's infrastructure, helping businesses, government entities, and individuals alike to be more resilient in the face of cyber threats. They are the forefront of our nation's efforts to protect against, respond to, and recover from cyber attacks. Our speaker today is Andrew Buschbom, who serves as Cybersecurity State Coordinator for New Mexico at CISA. With extensive experience in cybersecurity, he has been instrumental in advancing CISA's mission of collaboration, innovation, and proactive defense against the cyber challenges we face. Andrew will share valuable insights into current cyber threats, the role CISA plays in protecting critical infrastructure, and practical steps we can all take to improve our own cybersecurity practices. Please join me in welcoming Andrew Buschbom. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Steffi. So as Steffi mentioned, I'm Andrew Buschbom. I'm here in Santa Fe. I'm with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, helping secure and make sure, small businesses, state agencies, critical resources, and key resources within the community are prepared to defend against cyber attacks and recover, remain resilient. So I'm going to share my screen now and go through a presentation here, provide some insight on what I see day to day throughout New Mexico, throughout the Southwest, and just the U.S. as a whole. And really, I'm going to hit on 4 best practices. There's going to be additional resources, but 4 main things that you can do to protect yourself so that you're prepared for a cyber incident or to prevent it from even occurring. So let me share my screen. All right. So a little bit about CISA. Steffi gave a great introduction, but really the mission of CISA is to partner with private sector, public sector, industry, government to manage the risk to the nation, to make sure these critical resources, those key resources in the community are secure, they're resilient, and provide those resources, those businesses, those services to the American people. My role at CISA is really a federally funded risk advisor, and to help everyone manage risk, reduce risk to an acceptable level. There's no way to reduce risk to zero. There's always going to be some risk when you're doing business. CISA is broken up into 10 regions. These are the FEMA regions. So right here, New Mexico is region 6. So myself, my colleagues, we cover New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. So these are people I reach out to, leverage their knowledge a lot, have them come into New Mexico to help me support, local and key resources here. We cover 16 critical infrastructure sectors. Right now, elections are a huge priority for CISA. So that's been a lot of my time is securing elections. But CISA, looks to cover all those sectors. Small businesses, CISA has a whole page dedicated to small business best practices, using cloud technology. How do you do your backups? And I have those links in these slides, so we'll get into that later. But my role really as the cybersecurity advisor is to assess and evaluate critical infrastructure, promote best practices, build those relationships so that I know people in the community. One of my roles is if I get threat information about somebody here in New Mexico, I need to reach out to them and let them know, hey, you're potentially compromised or your information's been published out on the internet. And CISA is voluntary. I don't have any regulatory powers, anything like that. So I'm just providing information and trying to assist as much as possible to educate and also collect information to listen to what your challenges are and take that back to CISA headquarters and see if we can develop products to help you. Because cybersecurity is difficult, it's challenging, and it's not just an IT issue now. Like technology has made its way into everything imaginable, right? Ring doorbells, we have cameras, Siri on our cell phones, Alexa, it's everywhere. And also another role I do is coordinate. So if a cyber incident does occur, I help gather what federal resources are available, try to help guide people and get them through that situation. So I just wanted to set the landscape here and just really define cybersecurity. So what is cybersecurity? It is the protection of computer systems and networks from attacks by malicious actors that may result in unauthorized information disclosure, theft of, or damage to hardware, software, or data. Really, so wherever there's technology, you need cybersecurity now. Steffi really hit on that intellectual property, or like protecting that, making sure it's secure. So why is it important? Implementing cybersecurity best practices are important for individuals, businesses, organizations of all sizes to protect that personal information, the financials, that sensitive information that is key to your business. Really, you want to follow those best practices. So a lot of what I do at CISA links to the NIST cybersecurity framework, the National Institute of Standards and Technologies cybersecurity framework. And I'll go into that a little more. Really what I'm seeing here, just to put it out there, in New Mexico, in the areas we cover, is ransomware. That is the number one thing I see. And a lot of that comes through phishing. So a lot of it is a target of opportunity, right? The criminals, the threat actors are looking for financial gain. So the first step is to know what you're trying to protect. So, your customer data, your IT assets, your intellectual property, your financial data, your service availability, right? You need to keep your business up and running, keep being able to serve your clients. And then also, I think probably one of the most important is that reputation and trust. That's a difficult thing to get. And if you lose that, it's challenging to get it back. So just a quick overview of the threat actors that I see, right? Hacktivists, they're looking for political interests. So one of those nation states, that would be Iran. They're trying to influence elections and sow discord among the American people. Criminals, it's another huge thing that's overlapping, and it's all for financial gain. Insiders, that could be a malicious person. That's an insider threat that works for you, that has, a vendetta, or it could just be somebody who was not trained. They aren't educated, or they make a mistake. We all make mistakes. That's still an insider threat. And then I mentioned the state actors. In this, what I see in the critical infrastructure in New Mexico and throughout the US for nation states, Russia, North Korea, Iran, China, right? They're trying to make their way into those critical infrastructure and key resources to undermine services that Americans rely on day in and day out. So really the threat landscape, I mentioned the ransomware challenge. Steffi and I were talking, and Christopher, just before this call, I received 2 emails overnight about ransomware here in our region that hit small businesses. It's really, ransomware is a huge challenge. They're looking to take advantage of people who have limited resources because cybersecurity is challenging. I was talking to a small business owner yesterday, and they're looking at getting some contracts, but they had to meet a minimum requirement, right, of best practices in cybersecurity. They were looking into hiring a contractor to help them And really the minimum number they were quoted was 50,000 to help them go through this process, identify what they need to do. And that's quite a bit of money, right? That's challenging when you're running a small business. So some of the resources CISA has, they're all no cost. You can get them through CISA.gov. I will go over them more in depth in the coming slides. Will help you improve your cybersecurity posture. But human-centric attacks also, phishing, another huge thing I see. We'll talk about it in the coming slides. Phishing and business email compromises. The Internet of Things and operational technology. Again, technology is making its way into every facet of our life. You know, controlling water, gas, energy. I mentioned the Internet of Things. My sister-in-law has a refrigerator, right, that's connected to the internet. It can take a picture of what food she has inside. So if she's out grocery shopping, she can look inside, see what she needs to buy. But these are all entry points into networks. Supply chain vulnerabilities is another big item that's coming to fruition that people are realizing. You go after the weakest link in a chain, right? So if you can look at your vendors, your suppliers, you want to make sure you have good, strong contract language in there regarding cybersecurity. But really, the supply chain attack is a critical area that businesses and organizations need to look at and make sure they're prepared, whether they need to pivot to another vendor or just what they can do to sustain operations if something happens to one of their contractors or vendors. So ransomware statistics, $12.5 billion is what was reported to IC3.gov. That's run by the FBI. And I would say it's much higher than this. Really, 1 in 5 incidents are reported. At least that's the statistic. 2022, $10 billion in loss is what was estimated. So 2023 is 12 billion. It's increasing. Microsoft just released a report yesterday. Microsoft Defender report. I can't remember the exact name, but they saw 600 million cyber attacks a day against their infrastructure, the clients they support with Microsoft's cloud platform. And 99% of those were password attacks. They were trying to brute force entry using username and passwords. So I will talk about really MFA. You know, MFA makes a huge improvement in your cybersecurity posture for your business. Enable that on all the accounts you can. So business email compromises. We're talking about ransomware. I mentioned phishing. Is everybody or anybody familiar with business email compromises?
Raise your hands first. Raise your hands first.
Oh. What do we got for, is there many people, Christopher? I can't see the hands.
Marty is the only person familiar.
Okay.
And
so, okay, we got a couple then.
Alethea, Fran.
Okay. So business email compromises is a more sophisticated scam similar to phishing, but they gain access to one of your vendors or one of your partners, somebody you have a trusted relationship with. They get access to that environment. They start monitoring who they're communicating with. Then they'll reach out to you, to your business, and it's a trusted relationship you already have. So you're expecting to work with that individual. You may be convinced to change wiring instructions or payment or purchase order, right? They're looking to get a financial gain is really what I see a lot in business email compromises. So really the best practices on that are reset credentials, gather all the financial information you can. Well, we got a little, be aware. A lot of this goes back to training and education on phishing emails and best practices, like what looks suspicious. Were you not expecting this? And also follow up, have a phone call, have a secondary way to validate information they're requesting. And I want to really make sure people are aware of IC3.gov, the Internet Crimes Complaint Center. If your business, your family, your friends, anybody suffers a financial loss, go to IC3.gov and register a complaint. The FBI has a recovery asset team, which when talking to the FBI, really, if they are notified within 72 hours, from what I understand, they have a very high success rate on recovering assets. So ic3.gov, if you take, one thing away from this, I really recommend you are aware of ic3.gov. Go check it out. It is a fantastic service. So what can you do to protect yourself from business email compromises? Make sure you have policies in place so all your employees know, how do we provide or verify when these changes come in? How do we make sure this is a legitimate request? Do we follow up with a phone call? And considering having 2 people sign off on that request, so not just one person makes that change on that bank routing number or authorizes a purchase order or invoice. Procedures. A big thing that I see is people do not have documented policies and procedures. I really want to stress that having documentation on your policies or procedures, and I'll talk a little bit about incident response if a cyber incident occurs, having it documented, because when you're in that stressful situation, you tend to make mistakes. And it doesn't need to be a fancy document. It just needs to outline those basic processes that you follow when you do, changing of financial information, phishing emails, if you suspect a potential compromise. So I mentioned some of the services CISA has. A lot of what CISA does is to work before an incident occurs. Oh, go ahead.
Could you press hide? There's like a little pop-up blocking the bottom of the screen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Assessments. How do you identify these gaps? This is what I do a lot day to day, and a lot of this is available on CISA.gov. So I'm going to go through and really talk about 2 assessments that I highly recommend you take advantage of. And that's the Cybersecurity Performance Goals and the Ransomware Readiness Assessment. The Cybersecurity Performance Goals is a set of best practices aimed at reducing security risks to your organization. It's 38 questions that CISA has identified that will get you 95% of the way there to being prepared to prevent an attack, to being resilient, able to recover if something occurs. Ransomware readiness, I'll go a little bit more in depth on that. Again, make sure that you're prepared to recover from a ransomware incident. I've worked with some individuals, they've reached out to me, they got hit by ransomware. Their backups were also encrypted. They kept their backups on site, which is one of the questions in this assessment. Do you keep your critical information in multiple locations, right? Is one of those off-site? So if you go to CISA.gov/downloading and installing CSET, that cybersecurity evaluation tool, it has a large amount of assessments in there, and CISA does offer training on it. So you can go to CISA.gov. There's a 3-hour training class you can sign up for. I do come and do these assessments with people, but they do have to be in that critical infrastructure and key resources for the community. So not everybody qualifies to have me come on site or work with them. But this is a tool that's free that you could all leverage. And the cybersecurity performance goals, the 38 questions, it has 4 ways to answer it: implemented, in progress, scoped, or not started. So, right, I would say if you're 99% of the way there doing a practice, you choose implemented. If you're less than that, in progress. If you're just thinking about it, scoped. But this provides a report at the end with recommended actions to address each of these 38 issues or 38 questions that CISA has identified as a priority, really the best practices. And this all links back to that NIST cybersecurity framework. Ransomware readiness assessment, it's got 10 domains. It talks about backup. How do you manage your assets? How do you train your employees for phishing? How do you patch? I highly recommend these 2 assessments. And if you do not want to download that CSET tool, CISA launched this website. It's still in beta, but myservices.cisa.gov/RSC, Ready, Set, Cyber. So it's got small, medium, large organizations. Really, you can do any of these. It's just the amount of questions asked. If you do the small organization, I believe it's 10 questions, right? 10 best practices. Are you doing this? And you will get that output in that report for recommended actions right there on that website. You do not need to install anything. So really another fantastic resource. Again, this is all no cost. Is myservices.cisa.gov/RSC, Ready, Set, Cyber. So again, I said I'd mention 4 things that I see day to day that make a huge difference. Strong passwords, use of a password manager, use multi-factor authentication, recognize and report, if possible, phishing attacks, and also update your software. So at least 16 characters is CISA's recommendation for best practices. Don't reuse passwords, make them complex, and use a password manager if possible, right? This way you don't have to remember your password. You remember one password for that password safe, but you have very strong passwords on your other accounts. Multi-factor authentication. I know it's somewhat of a hassle. Sometimes I'm frustrated when it takes time, right, to receive that code, or I have to put in my card or a physical device to have that second factor. It just really makes such a huge difference. I mentioned that Microsoft report that came out yesterday. They mentioned 600 million attacks per day against organizations. 99% of those attacks in the report, it said, were trying password brute forcing, right? So these were accounts that did not have multi-factor enabled. So really, is everybody familiar with what multi-factor authentication is?
Raise your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. I can't.
Let's see. I'll tell you at least half. I have 12 hands raised. So more than half of the people on the call.
That's fantastic. Just anywhere you can enable multi-factor authentication, right? So you have a code sent to your phone, or you have an authenticator app. The code sent to your phone, there are some ways that multi-factor is being defeated. We've seen it now where CISA now recommends a phishing resistant multi-factor authentication, they call it, which that is having really like a hardware token, or I have a card that I have plugged into my laptop. Microsoft's business, Hello Business, that is phishing proof multi-factor, but it really increases your security dramatically by enabling that MFA. And it doesn't take, 60 seconds, 90 seconds longer to authenticate to those accounts, right? So use it on your email, use it on your financial accounts, Vanguard, Fidelity, Chase, have all that enabled, even your social media. This is a little bit of a deviation, but I was working with somebody, they had their social media account, their Facebook account, their Twitter taken over for their business, and they had no way to get access to that. And that really damaged their reputation, their trust of their business when their social media account got taken over, and kind of some crazy things were posted by somebody on there, but they did not have multi-factor authentication enabled. Phishing. That's a huge entry point I see, is somebody getting an email that's not legitimate. They click on the link, they provide their credentials, and somebody gets access to their email or further into their environment. So really, things to look at to recognize phishing. A tone that makes you worried, right? Urgent. I had a phishing email when I first started this job. I've been here at CISA about 16 months. I'm getting ready to leave. I have to go out on a business trip. I get an email, hey, you need to verify your hardware. You need to do this, otherwise you're not going to get paid, right? Oh no, I like to get paid. So I'm about to click on this link, but I realize, hey, I don't know the sender. It's got a weird URL. It's just all text. Normally when I get emails from CISA, they have some logos, some branding. So take time. If somebody's trying to be urgent and force you to do something or make you scared, take a second to think about that. Don't send personal information over email. Make sure you verify that email address as who, it's coming from the legitimate company or organization you expect. And if you have any questions, follow up and call. I was talking to a woman again yesterday, actually. She sold clothing, and somebody contacted her over Facebook. Hey, I saw this shirt. How do I get it? We want to set up a way to purchase it. And it was through Venmo or something like that. But as she's going through it, she realized that things were not adding up. So then when she tried to reach out to that individual, all communication ceased. And she told me, she's like, I would have been out $600 for this order if I wouldn't have slowed down. But she was really excited, right? I'm making a big sale. I'm going to get this money. Just really take your time, think about what you're doing. And that's where having those processes in place and documented can help you. This is a little bit of an example, right? Things to look for in red, right? Urgent. You need to do this now. Oh, you have something attached. Open this attachment. Do not open attachments from people that you are not expecting, and verify if you can. Follow up with a call. Make sure that it's legitimate. They also leverage like the domain, right? It's not quite what the company's email is. It's off by a letter or a number. So really, don't click on links unless you're 100% certain. Don't open attachments, and don't send personal information. If you get an email that's urgent, something like that, oh, I need you to change this order, or I need to change this routing information, follow up with a call, verify. And if possible, if you're a larger company and you do have an IT department, report it. Another big thing, update your software. Threat actors exploit those flaws that aren't updated. Those operating systems, your phones. I had to update my machine this morning. It was kind of inconvenient. I was in the middle of working, but I just saved my information, did the update, and rebooted. And another, enable automatic updates, right? That's one of the simplest things you can do. Enable automatic updates on your phone, your computers, your laptops, everything you have that you can enable. Make sure it just auto updates, and don't click remind me later. Just do it when it pops up. So this is just some more information on mitigating the most severe flaws. Like if you're a larger organization and you have internet-facing applications and services, update those first. Also validate that the patches took place. Remove end-of-life software and hardware. Don't continue to use things that are unsupported. These all make a huge difference in keeping your business safe. If you go to that Ready Set Cyber page, you will have the ability to enroll in vulnerabilities, CISA's vulnerability scanning service. They call it Cyber Hygiene. CISA will scan your publicly available IP space and send you a weekly report with what was discovered, ways to mitigate that. It's a fantastic service. I leveraged CISA before when I was at a state agency here in New Mexico because I had limited resources and I needed all the assistance I could get. And this vulnerability scanning service was fantastic. Data security. The other thing, again, Steffi mentioned intellectual property. So when I talk about assets, it's not just your hardware, it's your software, your people, your data. What kinds of data are you storing? Are you using a cloud service? Know and have documented the types of information you have, where that data is stored, have it labeled, know what you need to keep more secure. Do you have personal health information? Do you have personally identifiable information? I worked with federal tax information at one point. These all had requirements that I had to implement to keep that data safe. So knowing where that information is an asset you need to track, that data. Again, just implementing data classification. If you have sensitive or really that intellectual property that you need to keep secure, train your employees on it. know where it's backed up. Don't let it go off-site onto unencrypted devices, and have a policy in place how you keep that data secure. Cyber insurance. This is another thing that's really important to know. I'm going to leverage Christopher again. How many people have cyber insurance?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand. Thank you. Are there any hands?
There's 2.
Okay, that's good. I'm with cyber insurance. You know, that's an option to protect your business, but there are certain things they require you do to maintain that insurance. And if you suffer a breach, you know, you need to reach out to your cyber insurance and make sure you follow their requirements so that they will cover you. There are certain things you have to do with some cyber insurance policies. You know, you have to leverage these companies to do the incident response to get this information. So just if you do have cyber insurance, reach out, talk to them, understand what policies you need to have in place or procedures to make sure that you're covered if something occurs. And oftentimes I've seen cyber insurance have advisors. They have things that they can help you with to make sure that you're protected and you mitigate that risk so that it doesn't occur, or you prevent the chances of it occurring. You know, you have to have a minimal level of security controls in place now, a lot of times, to get that coverage, and really discuss the policy. Have those conversations beforehand. Know what you're covered for, where your data is, and what they can do to help you if a cyber incident occurs. Again, this one, I really back up your data. I really want to hit this point hard, especially since just in the past couple days, seeing organizations, smaller businesses hit by ransomware where their backups were on site and the ransomware encrypted their backup. I feel terrible for them because they lost that ability to restore, to recover from that. They basically have to rebuild from ground zero. This was almost a year ago now. A friend of mine, he had an appointment in his calendar. He had a dentist appointment. So he called him up. Hey, normally you get a reminder. Hey, you have a dentist appointment tomorrow or in the coming days. He never got that. He called the dentist. They were hit by ransomware. They didn't have backups. They lost their whole client base, right? They had no records of their past clients, anything. That was all gone. They had to start from scratch. And just that could be detrimental to your organization, to your business. So back up your data, keep it off site. There's a 3-2-1 rule. So keep 3 copies of important files, right? 1 primary, 2 backups. Keep files in 2 different places, right? 2 different media types, maybe a cloud, maybe an encrypted hard drive. And store a copy outside or offsite, right? Outside of your home or your business. So if something does occur, you can recover and restore. Build that strong cybersecurity culture at your business, your employees. Provide some basic training. Again, I'm from CISA. CISA has a fantastic website. They put out content weekly on advisories, alerts. They also have a YouTube page that has great content, and it's all free. This month being Cybersecurity Awareness, as Steffi mentioned, this is the 20th year. It began in 2004. That really, I guess it was a presidential thing to implement that Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So there's a bunch of new videos out on CISA's YouTube page that I would highly recommend you go check out if you have time. But identify those cybersecurity training resources. I'll talk about a few more further on in the slides. Stay current on cybersecurity events and incidents. When you read the news, pay attention to what that's affecting. Is that something that may affect your business? There was a CrowdStrike incident in July. I think it was July 17th or 19th that affected $8.5 million or 8.5 million computers throughout the world. Not an intentional malicious attack, but something happened and it took down a lot of computers. Just make sure you understand what the cybersecurity threat landscape looks like. Stay current on the news and see if it'd be relevant to your business. Encourage your employees, right, to make those good choices, to be aware of phishing emails and the risks. Discuss those business email compromises. How do we validate the people we're working with? Have a basic incident response plan in place. Who are you going to contact? What are your critical assets? Again, your people, your technology, your data. Have those backups. Be able to recover and restore. Have procedures in place that you can go to if a cyber incident occurs, and test it. Test that plan. Do a tabletop. CISA has a large amount of cyber tabletops on their website available to download. They're already in a package you can customize, and you can go through with your employees through that incident and make sure that that there aren't gaps, that you're prepared to be resilient. I mentioned, again, CISA.gov. You can sign up to receive alerts and advisories. You can specify it, what you want to get, tailor it to your sector, your business, your products. You will get, when I signed up to this, I thought CISA is big on .gov domains, but then this is govdelivery.com. This is legitimate. I wanted to put that in there. So if you do sign up, you're not surprised. Known exploited vulnerabilities. CISA's realized that there are so many patches and vulnerable software out there. How do you prioritize, especially if you don't have a dedicated IT team? So CISA created known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, KEV, they call it. So CISA.gov, known exploited vulnerabilities. It's a little over 1,000 now, but these are vulnerabilities that are being actively exploited by threat actors to gain access to infrastructure. They have a CVE, and they also have a way to mitigate the vulnerability or patch. So another resource, small and medium business section on CISA.gov, dedicated to small and medium businesses, best practices, for cloud computing, backups, just tons of information there. And I will have my contact information at the end of this, so you can reach out, ask questions. I will try to assist you as to the best of my ability. I guess I'm going to ask another question, Christopher, if you all can raise your hand. How many of you are using cloud services? Like Google, Microsoft, Amazon?
Oh, I have quite a bit. Let's see, 1, 2, 10.
So we got
10.
Okay. I want you to all be aware of scuba goggles, scuba gear. I don't have it in this slide yet or in this presentation, but scuba, so SCUBA. It's a set of scripts you can run. They have it for Microsoft and Google. I think Amazon is coming out, but that is a set of scripts you can run that will audit your environment and show you any gaps and give you recommendations on best practices to secure your cloud environments. So that's an initiative CISA is working on. So check out scuba gear, scuba goggles if you are in a cloud environment. Again, all no cost. Incident reporting. CISA tries to operate before an incident occurs to make sure you're prepared, you're resilient, you're ready to respond. Threat response, that's more like the FBI. Again, IC3.gov. I would have that documented in your incident response plan. If something to occur, as soon as possible, go to IC3.gov and file that complaint. And they will generate a report. Also, if you want to report phishing, you can report it to CISA, phishing report at uscert.gov. Again, I have the IC3.gov down there also. You can report to CISA at CISA.gov/report. There's also a 24/7 number, 888-282-0870. And they also, CISA just got 1-844-SAY-CISA. And if you call that number, it's staffed by a human 24/7. So they will take your call, listen to what's going on, recommend some actions you can take. Again, there's so many resources available on CISA's YouTube channel. There's cybersecurity trainings available on CISA.gov. Just more. Stop ransomware, CISA.gov/stop ransomware. Fantastic guide that you can check out to leverage. Again, my contact information. I know we're coming up on time. I wanted to give some time for questions, and I know there's some things Stephanie and Christopher have to have you do, but anything you all would like me to discuss or expand on or question?
During this time, I'd like to promote our webinar that's scheduled next Thursday. We will have Alethea McInerney from the Apex Center doing a presentation on the SP 171. I'll let you promote it in just a minute, Alethea. But it's cybersecurity compliance, so you can be compliant to be a government contractor. Christopher's going to unmute you, Alethea, so you can promote it at this time. And those of you that have attended, we will be sharing Andrew's PowerPoint presentation. We are recording, and we will be sharing the recording on the YouTube channel sponsored by the New Mexico Small Business Center.
We're not quite at half of our survey, so if we want to leave it open for a little longer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chat over the Federal Trade Commission's guide to a data breach response, so I could scare everybody into being cybersecurity compliant.
And not to take away from the survey, but Paula, I can't help, or CISA can't, with getting that high trust certification. You are in that healthcare space, which is critical infrastructure. So if you want to reach out to me, we could talk and see what I can do to help with, identifying and helping you improve your cybersecurity, but not with a high trust certification. I'm not an auditor, right? I can advise and help. And you mentioned the cost, right? That is the challenge. And I'm not aware of any grants at the moment through CISA that would be able to assist for that. But please reach out to me and we can have some discussions, but not on that high trust certification. And then sorry, I'm going to try to go intellectual property. And I don't know if Steffi wants to weigh in on this. Like, that is not my wheelhouse, I guess. Intellectual property, protecting data as a whole, I can help with, using encryption, knowing where your data is. But is there anything you would want to say, Steffi, on protecting intellectual property?
I know with the copyright, with your books, you do have the copyright, and that's the form of protection. I know at this time and day that we're in, it's very hard to protect. You are responsible of protecting your intellectual property. I would be cautious on posting my intellectual property on the web. If you sell your books, that's good, but it's really hard right now. I don't have any other resources other than to register your copyright. And then if anybody does infringe on it and you receive your certification, then you can use that to sue them for infringing or ask them to cease and desist. But I know right now it's very hard with the adversaries out there.
And just for those online, the question was from Anne, and she says she's an author. And what should she do to protect her intellectual property? And then the next question from John. Are there any resources for sample or boilerplate policies and procedures?
So yes, CISA.gov, again, I'm going to say that there's so much there. There are playbooks and templates you can leverage, and you can reach out to me, email me. I have some templates I've been working on to get out to people that are like that initial framework for incident response. And then also check out SANS.org, SANS.org. They have a lot of good templates that I like to leverage. Again, it's not a CISA product. It's no cost. You can check it out. But those are things I've leveraged in the past, is the SANS.org templates and policies would be my recommendation, to have that initial template to work on.
Perfect, thank you. And Steffi, you'll give a good synopsis. What do you always say about legal advice?
Oh, okay. So I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot offer legal advice. And if I was a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer right now. Okay, Christopher, you can close the survey.
Okay. You want me to open it up to it? Anybody who wants to speak to raise their hand? I know not everybody's on the computer to type in, so that if you're on your phone or something. Fran from our San Juan College SBDC, let me allow you to speak. You'll be on mute. And if you unmute, you can speak.
Thank you, Steffi and Andrew. I appreciate the information today. I think it's most valuable at this point in time because we've been receiving many threats, not only through the US, but at San Juan College, we've had a couple of threats in our building from certain organizations, and it's panic mode. And people don't understand how important it is to have your policy in place. But more than that, there's a lack of training that people truly don't understand why cybersecurity is that important until they're in a problem. So my request in the situation of small businesses, we should have a regular training, I think, on a quarterly basis, because people just need to stay abreast of what's happening.
Thank you, Fran. That's a good recommendation. I know I put all my webinars during October on cybersecurity, and I should have them quarterly at least. So thank you. Good idea.
And you mentioned San Juan College, right? Just to let you know, right? That's critical key resource. And those places like that, I can come on site and bring a team and do cyber tabletops and do workshops and training. So if that's something that you would find benefit in, definitely reach out to me. Not only that, CISA does physical security also. So I have a counterpart that in the past has done active shooter training, stop the bleed training, organized, which I found really fantastic. I'm on cybersecurity side, but having that physical perspective. So just so you know, that is CISA. Those are services that CISA does at no cost. Definitely the college, the education, higher education sector, that all qualifies to have these advisors from CISA come on site, do workshops, do trainings, do tabletops, help with those policies. Just wanted to make sure you're aware.
Good information. Thank you. Alethea, would you like to promote your presentation, please? Are you there?
She might be on the phone and it's hard to unmute.
Okay. So also you can find lots of trainings even if they're not offered by the SBDC. Last week if you attended, we gave you a lot of websites where you can get resources. NIST is the place to go. We also have the North Star with the SBDC, which is really promoting a lot of cybersecurity awareness this month also. And they have a website at the SBDC small business site. And then they actually promoting their cybersecurity awareness with the SBA. So that's awesome. So yesterday they had a summit. They'll be having another summit next week. If you need that information, feel free to contact me. So I was going to promote Alithya's. Do we have any more questions? Raise your hands if you have any questions.
Well, Steffi, there's a comment in the chat. Paula says, if you do purchase cyber insurance, there's typically trainings offered with them. And I agree with you, Paula, because we at UNM, we use Arctic Wolf, and I have to take those trainings probably every week. And they're kind of cool.
Yeah, I just want to echo again with that cyber insurance. If that's something you have, do reach out to them and discuss that. Do you offer trainings? Do you have some advisors that we can leverage? Because you're paying for it most likely. So
next Thursday we'll be having Cybersecurity NIST SP 800-171 R2 presented by Alethea McInerney. And so that is required by contractors that are going to be compliant to work with the federal government or other agencies. So please sign up for that if you are interested in that. Again, you will receive the presentation that was presented today by Andrew and the recording link. And thank you for participating in our survey. Any other questions, comments? We have a remark from Nathan. Thank you. Amazing class. I knew Andrew would be great. He's done a couple presentations for us before. So I'm so glad he was able to attend.
thank you for having me. Sorry.
If you're on the phone right now and you want to speak, apparently you press *6 to unmute yourself.
We have a couple more minutes left if anybody else wants any more. Any more questions? Andrew, could you talk a little bit more about that scuba that you were offering or that's offered?
So if you go to, I'm going to actually look up the link, but if you go to CISA.gov or search scuba space CISA, you will get a list of resources for securing. So SCUBA stands for Secure Cloud-Based Application Project.
Okay.
So it's for all cloud computing they're working on. CISA realizes a lot of people are leveraging those cloud resources on, because they have limited resources on site. So there's a set of scripts you can run that will audit your cloud environment. Right now they have Microsoft and Google. They're working on AWS. They continue to work on those products and put it out. But you would download that, run it against your cloud environment, and it's going to generate a report and identify gaps that maybe you want to look into to implement to increase your cybersecurity. It's just a set of best practices. So it's an audit script that it goes through that you run on your environment. And there are some other general guidance on that CISA webpage, the SCUBA webpage. So it's Secure Cloud Business Application Project.
Okay. And then I have one more question. You talked about the website at CISA where it does it'll check your vulnerability. Is that what you were talking about?
So that is the cyber hygiene service CISA offers. It will scan your public IP spaces. So if you have a website or services you offer, and it's, the public can reach it, CISA has a service where they will scan it weekly and send you a report of vulnerabilities discovered. It's an encrypted, password protected report. So if you go to that Ready Set Cyber page that I had, that they'll be in the link there, when you go through and answer those questions, it also asks you if you would like to enroll in that cyber hygiene service. So that's a way you could do it. Or you can just reach out and email me. My contact's at the end of it. I will send you a one-page PDF. Takes about 5 minutes to fill out. And within 2 weeks, you should start to get results.
Awesome. That was
Yep.
cool. I thought that was good. I didn't catch
Yeah.
all of that. Okay, well, it looks like we have come to the end of our time for this webinar. Again, I would like to thank Andrew Buschbom and Christopher for helping us put on this webinar. Thank you for attending. If you need more information, you can contact Andrew, you can contact myself. And thanks again for participating in the survey. You are free to go and